Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Setup Podcast. I'm Ethan here, joined with our friend Max. We're going to be covering various topics between sports, entertainment, pop culture, things of that nature. We're going to be kind of learning throughout this journey as well as you guys are as well. So first thing that we're going to do is just hop right into our first topic, and that's going to be in the MLB. We are a couple weeks out from All-Star break now. We've had well over 60 games played this year. Kind of have a good tell on who is who within the league. So now we'll kick it over to Max. Just what are your overall thoughts so far this year with how the MLB is, and how does this year compare with the pitch clock to others?
I don't know. It's one of those sports between football, basketball, and baseball. I kind of feel like I know probably the second least about baseball. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's a lot of good teams that we expected to be mediocre and maybe not so great, and there's also a lot of like bad teams that we expected to be like runaway division winners or kind of something to that nature.
Yeah.
One of the main teams I was talking about is the Diamondbacks. They're 21-9 their last 30, and on that stretch, Corbin Carroll is hitting 390 with 8 home runs, 16 RBIs, and 1.243 OPS. Mm-hmm. He's arguably been the best player in baseball for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. He's for sure been heating up, and I think even the Diamondbacks as a whole, just a team that's kind of been building over the last couple of years, have had some recent struggles in years prior, but now finally are able to get over the hump, and they're, as you said, they're well ahead of 500 within their division, and that's a division.
They're winning their division right
now.
Yeah.
That's a division too. That's not necessarily one that's easy to be won. The NL West has been.
It's probably the second hardest division in baseball.
Yeah,
I'd say outside of the AL East.
Yeah, but in more recent years, taking that first spot as of right now from the Dodgers, it's been a Dodgers division for many years going back.
I feel like the Dodgers. I mean, maybe they're a little different this year because I think they don't have like. As obviously they still have some like big name players, but I don't feel like they have the same amount of like huge like free agents that they may have like spent money on in the past. But what I don't understand about them is how they're so frequently so good, and then they'll trade away some pieces, some like prospects at the deadline, and you would think they would have like one of the most like just like ravish like or just one of the worst farm systems in baseball. But they have 2 guys this year who might finish top 5 in Rookie of the Year voting, and Outman and Miguel Vargas. It doesn't. I don't even understand how they do it, to be totally honest. Because they just reload and recycle, and while they're doing that, they're winning World Series pennants and trading away prospects. So I don't really understand. But
yeah, LA's definitely a rich market for any sport that they're playing in, but. As you said, their development has just been outstanding. I believe Outman won Rookie of the Month in May or April or something of that sort. But they just, and he's in the running for Rookie of the Year. But obviously, as you said, Corbin Carroll's been doing his thing. But yeah, I think throughout looking at these standings, obviously we talked about the West being with the Diamondbacks. The Pirates are still atop in a tight race with the Brewers of the NL Central.
Yeah, and they've cooled off a little bit in the last 30 days or so.
Yeah, definitely. They started off, for sure, extremely hot. And then rounding off on the NL East, Braves are in first place, but that's, just like PB&J goes together like anything, they're always in first place. But anything else specifically standing out to you in the NL and the East or Central that you want to go over?
In the East, dude, I think the Marlins might be the weirdest team in baseball.
Yeah,
they're pitching. Sandy Alcantara's not having the same type of year.
No, he's not. No,
his numbers are up. So their pitching really isn't that great on paper, and the stats aren't that great either. They don't hit for power outside of Jorge Soler, and they have 2 guys, Luis Arias. I'm sorry. And one other guy that are hitting above 290.
Yeah, it could be De La Cruz. Brian De La Cruz.
It could be. I forget who it was.
Yeah, well, Brian
No, what I'm saying is, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but they're 19-11 in their last 30, and the stats and the runs they're scoring don't really reflect a team that would be 19-11 in their last 30, but somehow they've been one of the best teams in baseball as of late. I mean, Jazz Chisholm's been hurt for half the season, too. The Marlins just don't really make sense to me, if I'm being totally honest.
No, I completely agree. They don't have a starting pitcher on their team that has under 4 ERA. One of the hotter guys too, and we'll come up on talking about the hitters who we think are at a more upward trend. I know we mentioned Corbin Carroll, but I think the Marlins as a whole, obviously you have Arise, who's considered to be the hitting king as of right now, and a surefire all-star.
He's one of the most underrated players in baseball.
Yeah, and then but also Brian De La Cruz has also been extremely hot for them. I know he had that bad error in left last night that cost them a run as well, but that didn't end up mattering. But they're definitely a really, really weird team. It's hot or cold. I think that's one of those teams you don't want to let into the playoffs, or maybe you do. You never know what kind of Marlins you're going to get on a given night. Maybe Sandy gets back to his typical thing, but I think definitely that they got to be a weird team, and I think that division as a whole is going to be very, very interesting as well. But
moving back to the Central, Ellie De La Cruz is what baseball needs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know they've made a lot of different rule changes to speed up the pace a little bit and make games a little bit more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But Ellie De La Cruz might be the most fun player to watch in baseball right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's getting stop signs from third base coaches and completely ignoring them and scoring runs at home.
Mm-hmm.
He's hitting 450-foot bombs.
Yeah.
He's one of the fastest players in baseball. I mean, the Reds have been just such a... It's not fun to be a Reds fan, and right now there's a little bit something to be happy about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think that team for sure. I've been paying attention to them a little bit as the year has gone on. Obviously, having some of players like Stu Fairchild, who's actually done really well, is having another good game tonight. TJ Friedel has also had a great year. Jake Fraley, who's coming up on his older years, is also playing really, really well for them. And then also Spencer Steer, who's on the earlier side of his career too, all playing really well. The Reds have a ton of really good prospects too as well.
Hunter Green's been awesome.
Hunter Green, I was just about to get into their pitching too. Nick Lodolo, obviously he's on the 60-day IL, so he has some time he's going to be missing for them too.
And shout out former Guardian Will Benson. His first ever home run was a walk-off.
That's true. He did have he had an electric walk-off too.
He was the third player for them this year. His first home run was a walk-off home run.
Yeah, and they also have the most come behind wins in the MLB this year too as well. So it's a young, exciting Reds team, and it's good. I know they have some issues with their ownership, so I hope they don't kind of mess that one up. But for me personally, I think the craziest story so far in that entire division is the St. Louis Cardinals sitting at the very bottom of it. A team with the former MVP of Paul Goldschmidt. You got Arenado. You have loads of outfield talent too. The pitching.
Lars Nootbaar.
Yeah.
Shout out my boy from my old college. Best friends with Lars Nootbaar.
Lars Nootbaar. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Dylan Carlson as well. They got a guy for every position.
The pitching's just terrible.
Yeah, it's what they're doing is they're not playing how the Marlins are playing, and they're just outscoring teams.
They had started to play a little bit better, probably last week, but then they've dropped I want to say they've dropped 5 out of the last 7 since then.
Yeah, they only have 2 wins in the last 10 games. It's definitely been a rough go for them. It's pitching. They will 100% be buyers and or sellers at the deadline for some kind of arm talent. Premier talks about our guy Shane Bieber. I think the Cardinals is definitely a big landing spot that could be for him in return for what we would get. So
yeah, it's hard for me to project where Bieber could maybe land because I just don't know enough about other teams' farm systems. Mm-hmm. I would be shocked just because of how bad that division is, if they end up as sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, we know the AL Central's bad, but
Mm-hmm.
the Cardinals are 27-40, and they're 8.5 games out of first.
Yeah.
They're a good team. Literally anything could happen.
Yeah, and you never know what could happen. Also, second half, there's a lot of second half teams. Maybe they could pull a 2022 Cleveland Guardians and go 26-4 in the last 30. Who knows? But using that, transitioning onto the AL now, the arguably the best team in the league, sitting atop of the East, Tampa Bay Rays. 5 games behind them is the Orioles, down to the Yankees, Jays, Red Sox. That's got to be the best division in baseball.
It has to be the best division.
It has to be the best division in baseball. Then we got the Twins sitting atop the Central. They're a game and a half ahead of the Guardians, and then 4.5 ahead of the White Sox coming next. Then it's the Tigers, and then Royals sitting at the very measly bottom.
You know, the Tigers were fool's gold there for a minute.
They were.
They were like 3 games out of first, and now they've won 1 out of their last 10.
Yeah.
And now I guess they're still only 5 games out, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's for sure.
I don't think anybody's buying Tigers stock right now.
I mean, definitely without having your best hitter and pitcher does not help you at either. But even before that, I still wasn't buying it. I thought they played well. I kind of saw them as kind of like the Cubs. Cubs started off really hot and really playing really well too. But we'll dive more into the AL. But next it'll be the American League West is led by the Texas Rangers.
Can I talk about the Rangers for a second?
Yeah.
I mean, I think what was the stat you told me a couple weeks ago? They had a plus 150 run differential?
Their run differential is over plus 150, and there's only been 5 teams that have done that in MLB at this time, and they've all gone on to win the World Series.
Yeah. I mean, they're a run-scoring machine, and then you look at the other side, and we got the game on right now, actually.
Yeah.
They lose Jacob deGrom for the season, but does it even matter? I mean, Nathan Eovaldi and John Gray are arguably 2 of the top 5 pitchers in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
They just called up their number 1 pitching prospect, Owen White.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of him, but, I mean, you got to plug the holes when you have to.
Yeah, he just pitched an inning ago, too, and he went 1-2-3, so...
and Marcus Semien might be the biggest sleeper MVP candidate this year. Last
I checked, I think Semien had a 24-game hit streak going. I'm not sure if it was snapped or not. They have depth for days. Obviously, Adolis Garcia is in right, all-star outfielder. One of the most underrated players, I think, and obviously he was in the big spotlight and he was with LA, and he was hurt for the beginning of this year. But Corey Seager, his productivity when he is playing,
he just came back, right?
Makes him, he's played about 30 games.
Oh, okay.
His productivity when he is playing is unreal. It added another aspect to a Texas Rangers team that was already very, very dynamic and good. But just getting another lefty bat and a shortstop like Seager. But
you know what's crazy about them being that good?
Mm-hmm.
Is their record is still 7 games worse than the Rays.
I know. It's
the Rays might be like the most like on paper boring team of all time, but it's crazy how good they are.
And what's even crazier is they're spending $55 million a year, which is
they're top 5 lowest payroll in MLB.
Yeah, which is
ridiculous.
Which is unheard of. Then you have the Astros who are climbing. Astros have been looking, a little. I don't not say worrisome because there's obviously plenty of time, but Abreu is not the Abreu that they thought they were going to be getting.
Two first inning home runs against the Guards.
Yes.
Pick it up a little bit here. We'll see.
Yeah, and usually not really a home run hitter too. The emergence of Corey Julks is also very good. That's another good AL rookie as well. Mauricio Dubon's been leading off for them. Kind of took Altuve's spot while he was injured.
He's been great for them.
But Altuve's finally back from his injury, so I think the Astros will get back to being the Astros.
Do we know how long Jordan is out yet?
No, so I believe he left the game a few days ago with it was a lower calf strain.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure, but yeah, Jordan being out, obviously they need him.
He strained it during batting practice before the game, didn't he? And
Yeah.
then he re-aggravated it during the game?
Yeah, it was last Friday's game, or last Thursday's game. But yeah, then another interesting team, well, obviously we have the Los Angeles Angels, not really Los Angeles, but Anaheim Angels.
Los Angeles Angels, Anaheim.
Yes, Los Angeles Angels fan. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, they're above 500. They're 6 games above 500. I think
5.5 out.
Yeah, I could maybe see. I don't know, with a very competitive AL. Actually, the Central. The thing is someone in the East is going to have to not make the playoffs. Obviously, I'm thinking it's going to be Boston. It's looking that way. But Seattle's an interesting case too. But I think the Angels with Ohtani, with the way Ohtani's been pitching, hitting, he's
been raking lately.
He is no doubt going to be the AL MVP. No questions asked about that one. Judge getting hurt
look at what
didn't
Judge had to do last year just to win an MVP.
Yeah, he had to hit.
He had to set the AL home run record.
Yeah, for literally just for him to win MVP. So Trout's doing his thing. Pitching arm. I know
Trout's hasn't he been in a bit of a slump though?
He's been in a slump, but he's still hitting very well for Mike Trout standards.
Okay.
It's his bad years are some dude's career years in the MLB.
Yeah. Mike Trout's slump is Jose Ramirez's career numbers.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
Speaking of the devil, Corey Seager.
Yeah, Corey Seager now up to bat. But another team that I'm really curious about, and I want to hear your take on this too, is the Mariners. They have a great team, just like a great overall team build of a balance of hitting and pitching. I know obviously Robbie Ray's not the guy that they want. They don't have a true ace, but the lineup's there. The lineup is definitely there. Kalenic had a great year, bounce back year too. I don't know. I don't know your thoughts on. I don't know if you've been deep diving into the Mariners or not, but
I don't know. It's hard for me to see a scenario unless they get really hot where they end up passing the Angels. They're 4.5 out of the Angels. They're 5.5 out of the Astros, who are just a pillar of consistency in the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
And they're 9 out from the Rangers.
Yeah.
I don't see them winning that division. And on top of that, they're a game below 500 right now. And you have 4 teams in the AL East who are well above 500. Someone's got to make it in the Central, even though it's a crappy division. And then you have 3 teams pretty handily ahead of you for the middle of June.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like you said, they're a good team on paper. I feel like they have some holes in their lineup here and there, but, I mean, when you look at it all together, do you really see them making the playoffs?
No, yeah. I mean, I think the only reason I ask is because they finally got over that huge playoff drought and the big hump of not making it last year. Obviously, they got Yordan Alvarez in the first round after they looked like they were going to steal the game 1 of that playoff series. But I don't know. Based off of last year, I know they lost some pieces. Adam Frazier, obviously getting shipped off to Baltimore. He's one of the more underrated guys, I think, personally. The stats may disagree, but I don't know. It just felt like last year them making it was having Julio too. It just looks like maybe it was their time that they were going to build and make that little bit of a run. But obviously so far it's just not been the case. So now I think rounding off the baseball talk, let's go into our predictions for who we're buying of their stock going high on, who we're selling on them going low, and then a couple of the players we think that are going to be heating up here soon. So
should we talk
would you like to go first?
Some division winners afterwards too?
Yeah.
Like some almost mid-season predictions.
Yeah, so who do you think right now would be on the rise? I know you talked to D-backs as well, but
I mean, I think the Padres might be the most inconsistent team in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Someone within the combination of, I mean, Tatis is doing his thing, obviously. Tatis has been probably a top 5 player in baseball since he came back from his suspension.
Mm-hmm.
But between Soto, Bogarts, and Machado, one of those 3 has to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if one of those guys picks it up, they start getting on base a little bit more. I mean, that's probably on paper the best first four in any batting order in baseball, right?
Yeah, has to be.
Soto's hitting the ball hard. He's just not getting on base as much as he should. I think Juan Soto's my guy. I think he's the piece for that team.
Walking is an art to him. He leads the MLB in walks.
Yeah.
He gets on base. He gets on base.
I shouldn't say he doesn't get on base. He just hasn't been hitting to get on base as frequently as he has in the past.
Yeah,
And then outside of that, going back to the AL, my bias is going to show a little bit, but look at what Josh Naylor, Jose Ramirez, and Will Brennan are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside of the Royals, they're absolutely terrible. Let's just be honest. They're the second worst team in baseball.
I was about to say my piece about the Royals too.
Yeah.
But continue what you're saying about the Guards.
They're the best team in this division. I mean, the Cleveland Guardians. I know they're not your box office Sunday, Wednesday night baseball on ESPN type team, but like you said previously, when this team starts hitting the ball, when they start having fun, when they start getting on base, they're one of the most dangerous teams because we've seen in previous years how they can heat up down the stretch. And once they lock up that division, once they get a comfortable 5-game lead, which I'm confident they will, they're not losing it. So
yeah, they're 100% a second half team, especially with how it's been with Tito as well.
I mean, yeah, I think since Tito's been here, we've probably been. I'd like to think we were like a slightly below 500 team before the All-Star break, and then usually where we have like a 65% win percentage in the second half.
And it's a good sign to see that right now, specifically as of recently, even against good teams, that they're starting to hit the ball well. The pitching was very bad. The starting pitching was very bad to start the year. Obviously, with calling up new guys like Bybee, who's going tonight, Logan Allen, of course. Even testing out with Hunter Gaddis, hopefully Gavin Williams soon.
Cody Moe?
Yeah, Cody Morris, who just got back from injury. It's promising that the starting pitching is there. We definitely have the potential to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 starting rotation in the years to come. The bats are the biggest problem, though, and the bats were what got going. It was said in this last homestand we were first in average hits, extra base hits, and then second in runs and OPS. And
short sample size.
If you were a Guardians fan for this year, you will take those last 6 games and take those stats as a huge win.
Some sign of hope.
Yes, something for not seeing any of our players in any of the top statistical things within the whole MLB. So you like to grab on anything. But yes, I completely agree.
That's all you can do as a fan. Right?
Yeah, and the Guardians were on my risers as well too. We got to see it in person as well. It's been great. We got to see the 14-inning miraculous masterpiece. Not we, but Max did. I got to see 9 of it. But yeah, moving on to my riser. One of the team that's rising. I'm not saying I'm buying stock. And they are definitely not making the playoffs, and they're definitely not winning the division. But the Oakland Athletics, soon to be Las Vegas Athletics,
6-4 in their last time.
No, 6-game winning streak. They have won 6 games in a row, and I definitely think that this
they might not win 6 games in all of June.
That's what I'm saying.
Or in all of July. I'm sorry.
And that's why I put them on here, because the Oakland Athletics winning 6 games in a row deserves to be talked about.
That's the most impressive thing that's happened all year.
Yes, and they're doing a reverse protest at their game tonight. They're packing the stadium. They're trying to give the big double middle finger to the ownership, to the whole MLB, saying Oakland is terrible. As a baseball fan, it's amazing to see. So, yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on the Oakland Athletics winning 6 in a row.
No, I love it.
But the Oakland Athletics, we cannot let the Oakland Athletics and their story and all that press overshadow how bad and worse the Kansas City Royals have been compared to them. The Royals have they have a worse record than them. B, they have better talent. They're considered to be the number 1 prospect in the MLB, which is Bobby Witt. I know he hit a home run today. They have an aging Salvador Perez who's still proven to be very productive. Their pitching has been terrible. Their hitting's been terrible. They have MJ Melendez, who's supposed to be very good. Still haven't really figured out what he's going to be doing yet either.
You know what's great for our guards, too?
Yeah.
We haven't even seen them yet this year.
Exactly. And as a Guardians fan, coming in, we play the Oakland Athletics next week.
I think we have the Royals after that.
Yes,
too.
and I
maybe
mean,
not right after,
but I'm more scared to play. I'm more scared to play the A's than I am the Royals as of right now. For real. We had some trouble with the A's.
Yeah.
Seth Brown is the Guardians killer for the A's. It's bewildering to me. So.
Going back to the A's, Esther Ruiz. I think he almost has 40 stolen bases already.
Yeah, he hit 30. Yeah. He is the reincarnate of the Ricky Henderson in the Oakland Coliseum, and it's great to see. It's great to see. I had him in my fantasy team for a bit too. Definitely has great.
I don't play fantasy baseball. What type of do you get 1 point per steal? A steal, I feel like should be more points than a hit because it's just less common.
Yeah, so it's like 1 point for a total base. So if you hit a double, it's 2 total bases.
Okay.
If you hit a home run, obviously it's 4 total bases, a run, and an RBI. So then that's 6 for a home run, solo home run. But obviously it counts different with whoever's on base. So yeah, so Soler had 2 solo shots the other night, and he got me 12 on my team.
Okay.
But it's an interesting league. It's my first time in an actual trying fantasy league, and it's very good. Maybe another day we'll dive deeper into who was on that team. But yeah, so we talked about our risers. Who do you have that is on the decline?
You want to start with the A? Oh, on the decline?
Yes, I'd say who's on the decline. Any teams that you think that you think they're not it right now?
I mean, the Royals, obviously. You just mentioned them. They're on par with the Oakland Ass right now.
Yeah.
Shout out our dear friend Lou Pergiani
for that.
Who coined that nickname.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we talked about it earlier, but there was a lot of kind of like fool's gold teams who got off to a hot start.
Tigers,
the Tigers, the Red Sox were like that as well. I think you mentioned the Cubs. Actually, there is one team in specific I'd like to highlight. The New York Mets, man.
That I had them as one of them too.
Obviously, Pete Alonso just got hurt. I'm not sure exactly how long he's out for. But they're top 5 in salary in the MLB. You're paying Max Scherzer and Verlander combined probably more than the entire Tampa Bay Rays roster is making this year.
Yep.
One of them's... Is Scherzer still hurt?
No, so Verlander was hurt. Verlander came back 2 weeks ago.
That's right. They're not pitching nearly where you would expect them to for the money they're making. Obviously, Pete Alonso, I think he's still leading the league in home runs. He's been fantastic. Lindor's not what you hoped him to be this year. Daniel Vogelbach might be the worst player in baseball. I think shout out Frank the Tank. I think he said it pretty recently, but Daniel Vogelbach makes me feel like I could play baseball.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's a designated watcher.
Yes.
He doesn't play in the field. They don't really ask him to run the bases late in games. He can't really hit this year. So he's kind of just watching the ball go by and making millions of dollars to do so. I mean, the Mets, they're just trending downward and downward.
Yeah.
I mean, they won 100 games plus last year and didn't even win their division. That's got to be maybe the most demoralizing feeling as a franchise.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick any team that I'm not really buying stock in right now, other than the obvious ones like the Royals and some of the really bad teams, it's got to be the Mets.
I also had the Mets on my list. I'm not buying it either. Scherzer's still he's still looking great. His last start against the Braves obviously tanked his ERA, but other than that, he was giving up either 0 or 1 run per start. He's been looking great. Verlander, I get it. He's been coming off a long injury. I don't know what the excuse can be for there, but he's not looking like Verlander with the Astros or the Tigers that he once was. I'm definitely not buying the stock with Lindor. Alonso, of course, getting hurt. I love Senga. I think Kodai Senga is one of the more better pitchers now, highlighting with the forkball as well. I think one thing, though, to look up for if you are a Mets fan is two names: Francisco Alvarez and Brett Beatty. Francisco Alvarez I believe he's at 12 or 13 home runs now. He is proving now to be, and I know he's their top prospect for a couple of years now, he's definitely proving to be their catcher for the future, and that's a position that they have struggled with for years now too as well. I know they tried to have a stint with Gary Sanchez as well too this year.
Shout out to Gary Sanchez. Though.
Yeah,
he's played really well ever since the Padres signed him.
Yeah, he's really has. He's found his second life.
Yeah.
He's still in the early half of his 30s too, so could be a little Nelson Cruz type deal. But
I think I saw the Mets actually signed COVID season home run leader Luke Voit to a contract.
Oh,
or maybe it was a minor league contract. I don't know.
Yeah,
one of the greatest flash in the pan seasons of all time. 2020 Luke Voit.
Yes, true. Very true. Very, very true. But yeah, but then also I didn't just think Brett Brady's a good third baseman too. So you got some good young talent, good pitching. I'm definitely not saying throw the season away if you're a Mets fan. I could definitely see them turning it around, and it likely might happen. Just as of right now, it's not looking great. Then my next team that I'm losing stock on too right now is throw it across town. They're actually playing each other tonight. Is the Yankees. This team cannot hit without Aaron Judge. They really cannot hit without Aaron Judge. Anthony Volpe has been terrible. He's obviously 22, has time to develop. He's got an OPS sitting underneath 700. Boone's getting ejected almost every other game. It's a mess right now if you're a Yankees fan. You're signing contracts with Rendon, Severino. Those guys aren't even pitching. It is an entire mess if you are a Yankees fan as of right now. Judge, they need Judge back. Rizzo hasn't gotten a hit in 10 games. Stanton's gotten one in the last 10 games. Gleyber Torres, I'm actually very high on Gleyber Torres.
He's kind of been the most consistent player
outside
of the Judge.
I know it's a contract year. It's a contract year for Gleyber. I would re-sign Gleyber if I'm a Yankees fan, but as the Guardians fan inside of me, let him walk. I think Gleyber's a very, very, very viable option. Mm-hmm. If I'm the Yankees, I'm sending Volpe back down. I'm bringing up Peraza. Just get his confidence back up. But yeah, Cole's obviously Garrett Cole. The other pitching's been okay. If Domingo Germán doesn't get ejected for the third time with sticky stuff, maybe he'll prove to be very good too. But yeah, it is a tough time. I feel like to be a Yankees fan and just to be a baseball fan in New York as of right now too. So not high on the Yankees as of right now.
One last thing. I'm curious what your thoughts are before we go to the division and wild card predictions. Mm-hmm. What do you think will end up happening with Shohei Ohtani? Do you think he gets dealt at this deadline? Or do you think the Angels kind of... I mean, they're sitting about 5 or 6 games above 500. They're not crazy far out of their division. But obviously, if they don't win it, there's some really good wild card teams that probably come out of the East. Do you think he gets dealt? Or do you think they hold on to him, hope they can maybe re-sign him, or... potentially he walks in free agency with the deadline coming up here pretty soon?
So I think Ohtani, if I'm a betting man, I would say Ohtani is going to re-sign with the Angels. I think players of his nature are very loyal to the teams that bring them up and help them develop. And he's getting all the fame. He's getting all these accolades, and he's the best player in baseball with the Angels as of right now. I don't necessarily know how much he weighs playoff success.
Yeah, he might want to play for a winning team
but
too.
I could also see him. Just the Yankees could pay him $800 million, and he could go and he could be out with an injury, and then his name will get tarnished in New York papers, and they'll do what they usually do to players of that nature. So. I mean, I don't know. I feel like in Anaheim, he's very comfortable with where he is right now. You can tell since he's came into the league each year, he's kind of grown more and more out of his shell.
Yeah, it definitely seems like he likes it there a lot.
Yeah.
He bought the samurai helmet for their home run celebration.
Yeah, no, and I think definitely as a person, he just seems to be always happy with a smile on his face playing baseball there, regardless. So my gut's telling me that he's coming back to the Angels.
All right.
So,
all right. I guess we'll start from the top in the AL. I mean, it's the Rays, right? They're winning that division.
Mm-hmm. Rays, definitely.
I don't think there's much more to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the Central, I have a feeling we'll have the same answer. I have the Guardians picking things up and winning this division.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think once they finally claim first place in that division, I don't think they'll ever look back, and I think they'll win it. Maybe not super comfortably, but I think they'll win it by probably 7 or 8 games when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I also agree on that. I agree on that as well. West, I love the Rangers. I really want the Rangers to succeed. I think the Rangers will win this division. I can definitely see the Astros coming back and winning it though.
Yeah, I have the Rangers winning this division too, but I have the Astros snagging the first wild card spot pretty handily.
Mm-hmm. I agree on that one. Okay.
And then for my last wild card spot, I think the Orioles are going to take it.
Yeah.
I love the type of baseball the Orioles are playing right now. I mean,
Yeah.
everywhere on the field, it's like they have somebody who's going to contribute, somebody that's going to hit. I think they're one of the most fun teams to watch in baseball on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's just a fun time to be an Orioles fan, and I'd like them to make a playoff run.
Yeah. No, I agree too. I definitely can see the team who comes in second place in the West being another wild card. Could also be the Yankees if they pick things up. I don't see the Central being a two-team division. So, yeah, it's going to be 2 teams for the East and the West. Yeah, so. Okay. All right, so moving on to the NL.
Yep.
I mean, not much here. I think the Braves are going to win this division. They're going to have the Cy Young. They have their entire roster who's all stars locked up for the next decade. This team's not going away at all.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Braves too. You pretty much covered all the bases there.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
But, moving to the Central, this might be... I don't know. Some people might consider this a hot take, but I still believe in the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're 8 games out, but I don't think any of the 4 teams ahead of them are all that consistent. I think if the Cardinals make some moves, because like I said, I doubt they end up being buy or sellers at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
If they pick up some pitching, maybe a Shane Bieber. I know the pitching market's pretty scarce when the deadline comes around, but if I was a betting man, I'm still betting on the Cardinals to win this division. I think they're too good to just fade away into a 3rd, 4th, 5th place finish in this division and not at least make a run at it.
Yeah. No, I'm there with you. I don't put that out of the realm of the possibility. I would definitely think I'm going to go with the Brewers for this division to finish it out. Obviously, losing Woodruff doesn't help. Burns has been looking, not like Corbin Burns recently, but I don't know. I think the lineup that they have, lineup composition is still pretty good. They have good enough pitching. They have a good bullpen. I think the Brewers will end up taking this one. So now moving on to the West, who do you have?
I know how hot the Diamondbacks are right now, but the Dodgers are just too consistent year in and year out for me to say that they're going to lose this division.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Diamondbacks will snag a wild card spot, them and the Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just no way. There's no way I see the Dodgers looking like they're going to be playing a wild card game come September.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Clayton Kershaw is like the most timeless pitcher of our generation. Yeah. How old is he now? Like 38?
Yeah.
38?
Late 30s.
Yeah. And he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball. I'm going to go to the Dodgers here, and then for wild card teams, D-backs and Marlins. Not overthinking that too much.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. I think the Dodgers do end up getting it. For this one, I think that both of the other wild cards will come from the West. I think I'm going to go with the D-backs, but I'm going to also go with the Padres as well. I think they'll pick it up. I know their pitching has been a big problem too, but obviously getting Tatis back is definitely helpful. That lineup is too good to, not make at least the wild card. But I could definitely see the Phillies doing their thing, coming back. Who knows? But I'm going to go with the D-backs and Padres for my next 2 wildcard teams. So
I like it.
All right.
Moving on.
So
NBA
now-
Finals wrapped up
Yes.
last night. Let's talk about it.
The NBA Finals did wrap up. Genuinely disinterested is my motive of how this playoffs has been. But
Yeah, I can't say I love the playoffs this year, but there is some stuff that still needs to be talked about, and that's Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
The Joker went on this playoff run 20 games total. He averaged 30 points, 13.5 rebounds, 9.5 assists, and a block and a steal a game.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first player ever in playoff history to lead the entire playoffs outright in points, rebounds, and assists.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it on 55, 45, 80 shooting.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
I
unreal.
know it was kind of a quiet playoffs, and I know it maybe wasn't like the most entertaining. But I think if anything, that just shows how dominant this Nuggets team was throughout their entire playoff run. And I know, like I was saying, it doesn't make for like the Game 7 ending, awesome series to end it all. But, I mean, I think Jokic has solidified himself as probably a top 6, maybe top 5 center of all time.
Mm-hmm.
His 2 MVPs, in my opinion, this playoff run has only shown that he should have 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
we
a pity,
watched
pity.
Embiid fizzle out in the Eastern Conference semifinals.
Yeah.
I said all year Jokic was the MVP. I think a lot of voters' fatigue and media storylines maybe contributed him to not getting his 3rd straight. And the craziest thing about all this is within their 7 to 8 guys who played consistently in the playoffs, the only guy they might lose is Bruce Brown, and he's a player option.
Yeah.
He could come back. Their only free agents that like will be on the market, their only unrestricted guys are like DeAndre Jordan, Ish Smith, and Jeff Green.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're completely reloading. They have Murray under contract for several more years. They have Michael Porter Jr. under contract for several more years. Aaron Gordon under contract. Jokic is never going to leave that team, in my opinion. I mean, the only time he wants to leave is to go see his horses in Serbia.
Exactly. Yeah.
First of all, I've never seen anybody look so unfazed and just like so disinterested after winning the biggest championship in the sport they've played their entire life.
Yeah.
He was just sipping on Mickey Ultras in the locker room, looking like he was just
That
there
picture.
because he had to be.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not much else to say. I haven't like. It's hard to compare it to like everything we've seen, but it's one of the most dominant playoff runs of all time, and I think that's why it made it kind of a disinteresting.
Yeah.
playoff
As
a whole.
It was a cruise fest. It was just to me personally, it just speaking of contracts and them being locked up for the next couple of years kind of reminds me of the Bucks of 2021 being like, okay, what's going to stop them next season? And I could only see the injuries stopping them could be into next year. So sky's the limit definitely for that team. What he's done is incredible.
I mean, they might have won sooner had they not had their number 2 and 3 option get injured for a whole season several different times.
And I think what has gone with the last decade, with how the finals have gone with LeBron and Curry and the Warriors, I think what has gone under wraps for teams and fans and what people don't realize is, I know it's a thing, but people don't talk about it, is the championship window. I think this year, the championship window for a team like the Nuggets was picture perfect. I don't think there was
totally. All the stars aligned.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like the last decade, you don't really think about that. You're like, okay, this could be the time of this. But then it'd be like, all right, well, you got to run into Curry or you got to run into LeBron. Obviously, there's many other factors. You could run into Tatum and the Celtics, but there's not that prove-it team that was waiting for you at the end of the tunnel this year for Jokic and the Nuggets. So I think it ended up working out extremely well for them, but 100% they deserved it and earned it too. So
yeah. Where do you think the Miami Heat go from here? Because you're heading into an off season where you don't have a lot of money to spend because you're paying Kyle Lowry a max, if not close to a max contract.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying some of your undrafted guys a decent amount of money. I think Gabe Vincent and Strus are free agents.
Mm-hmm.
Duncan Robinson's making way more money than he deserves for the way he's been playing.
Or the way they've been playing him.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, there's not you don't have the pieces to go and trade for like a Cat or a Siakam or any of the guys who've kind of been rumored. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where you go as a team from here, because obviously Jimmy Butler can carry you pretty far, but I think there's definitely a ceiling to what they're capable of as the team stands now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And on top of that, I mean, Bam Adebayo, he's probably a top 5 center in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
But I still feel like there's so much like left to be desired when it comes to him. If he's going to score the ball at a high clip, he's taking a bunch of shots to do it. He's really not a great rim protector. It's his switchability that makes him a great defender.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just not like... I don't think he's a number 2 option on a championship team.
No.
I think he's a number 2 option on a Jimmy Butler team where he can carry you all the way to the finals. And you can get the most out of some of your role players, but I don't see him as the type of guy who's going to elevate his game. I mean, he really didn't elevate his game come playoff time and make them any better.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could point to 6 other guys who elevated their game to the next level to take them to where they were this season before you look at Bam Adebayo.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't know necessarily what the ceiling would be with this Heat team with Bam Adebayo. I wasn't necessarily impressed or blown away by his performance. I know they made it to the finals. But, I mean, yeah, if I was the Heat, I would definitely look into maybe making a trade, maybe looking at a Mr. Damian Lillard in Portland. Maybe looking at a Mr. Kyrie Irving in Dallas.
Portland's
Who knows?
So weird to me, man. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Who knows? I mean, I think the Heat and the Blazers are both in. Obviously, the Heat are better off as of right now, but I think both those teams are in a situation where they're just have the question mark chat bubble above their head. Just they don't really know what they are, what they're gonna do now. So who knows? Maybe a little shock trade. But if I were them, you need a lot more pieces. That and you said it too. You said that months ago. The Nuggets were the roster that I gave you your flowers for this. The Nuggets roster was constructed like perfectly for this season, and
for sure,
just from depth to starters to wings to Michael Porter Jr. who doesn't want to pass the ball.
Never swing the rock.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I mean,
all right, talking about finals losers, we're gonna do a draft, 5 picks each. We'll go back and forth. The best teams to never win an NBA Finals. And we're not necessarily talking specific years. You can give a year if you want to. But for example, like, we're not going to include the 2015-16 Warriors because as a core, they won a ring. You know what I mean? It's just going to be like, kind of like a team's core and an era of a team that was great, but they never got to the next level and won a Finals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You want to go first here?
Yes, I will go first. So, without reading too much into it, I'm going to go with my first pick. I'm going to go with the Westbrook, Durant, and Harden OKC teams. Obviously, they ran into LeBron James, which was a problem.
I think probably the best version of
LeBron James too, which is very true. Obviously. Those players were phenomenal, but I think each player besides Russ really took that next step in their careers when they left OKC.
Yeah, they were 5th on my big board.
Yeah, so
it's a good pick.
Yeah, okay, all right, I'm gonna go with them as my
first number pick. 1 pick is I think one of the most underrated teams of all time, and I'm kind of separating them from like the earlier Spurs because their best players weren't the same guys. I'm going with the 2015-2016 Spurs, the era where Kawhi and LaMarcus Aldridge were their 2 best players. I mean, their starting 5, everybody within their starting 5 had made an All-NBA team at some point. They were 67-15, which is the 7th best record of all time. And the only reason they didn't win a championship is because they played the team with the best record of all time in the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
I mean, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Tim Duncan.
So that's you're going with that with the first pick, okay?
Yeah.
So, with my next pick, and this is an extremely small sample size, but if you look at this team many years down the line.
I think I know. Can I guess what you're talking about?
Wait, many years down the line, looking back at this and saying, oh my God, how was this not a championship? And you can guess it.
Was it the Harden, Kyrie, KD Nets?
You got it. So
There's
that is
6 on my
that
list.
is my next pick.
They're
so
one of my sleeper teams.
I just think many years down the line, looking back and saying, wow, those three together, and they didn't win a championship, but then again, only played 16 games total together, all three, is unbelievable. And then,
I mean, between injuries,
yes,
Kyrie suspensions, and
saging the locker room,
it was just a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess from the beginning.
Yeah.
And Steve Nash might go down as one of the worst coaches to ever. I mean, one of the worst former player coaches of all time.
Was he the one that did the? Oh no, I think it was Jason Kidd who did the no timeouts at the end of the game, spill the drink.
Oh no, yeah, that was Jason.
That was
Kidd.
another player.
That was Jason Kidd. Was that when he was the coach of the Knicks or the Nets?
Nets, I believe it was the Nets.
Okay,
Nets. I saw that too. That's great.
Yeah, man, you stole one of my picks. I thought it was
sorry.
You know what team that reminds me of though? Do you remember when it was after Pippen had left the Bulls? So I want to say like 99.
Oh,
Barkley, Hakeem, Scotty.
Yes,
they had a bunch of injuries and they just could never get done. They weren't even on my list because I don't. They were never really that great of a team altogether. And it's not really from our era necessarily.
Yeah.
But they kind of remind me of that team.
Yeah. No, it's valid.
My second pick is going to be the 1994 kind of like Shaq and Penny era Magic.
Okay.
You had Shaquille O'Neal, who was cementing himself as one of the best players in the league.
Diesel.
Big Diesel. Penny Hardaway at the time, one of the best guards in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And Horace Grant and Nick Anderson were probably the best, if not one of the best, third and fourth options on any team in that era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they kind of just ran into Hakeem Olajuwon in his prime. And what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So, back to you.
So you want to do 3 picks or you want to do 5? 5? Okay. So with my next pick, I'm going to go to throwing it back a little older. Obviously, there's a man named Michael Jordan in the way, but Karl Malone and John Stockton, the Jazz teams. I obviously think, Stockton being the assist man he was, and Karl Malone.
They're a great team.
Yeah.
It's just Michael Jordan.
Yeah, they ran into Michael Jordan. I don't really know what else there is to really say about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Malone and Stockton.
This is kind of an old head pick, but when I was doing my research, they popped up. The 1973 Celtics, and these three never won a championship together, but the combination of John Havlicek, JoJo White, and Dave Cowens, 2 MVPs on that team, JoJo White a Hall of Famer too, they went 67-15, just like those Spurs, and they lost in the NBA Finals. Yeah. That's it.
That's it. They
don't know much about them, but
they
were good.
They did in fact not win. Okay,
if you look at the records, they're tied for the second best team record wise to never win a ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I'm gonna go with another team that ran into Sir Michael Jordan. I'm going to go with the 97-98, I know we're not doing years, but Pacers with Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
They were 58-24 that year. They obviously made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, but then lost in Game 7 to the Bulls. I just think it was interesting being Reggie Miller. And at the time, Reggie Miller was their Steph Curry with a three-pointer. Obviously, kind of changed basketball, but then once Steph Curry was born, he changed three-pointer forever.
Yeah.
Which kind of overshadows Reggie, which I feel bad about, but still, I'm going to go with Reggie Miller's Pacers.
My fifth pick is kind of what are we on? Our fourth pick. It's kind of a nostalgia pick, but I'm going with the Lob City Clippers.
Oh yeah, I love
Chris,
those
that was
teams.
like maybe not the peak of Chris Paul's powers, but he was still the best point guard in the league.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin was first team All NBA one of those years. DeAndre Jordan, people forget, was first team All NBA one of those years.
I forgot that.
They had great role players too. JJ Redick was playing his best basketball. Matt Barnes.
Did they have Caron Butler?
No, I don't think so. They had Matt Barnes, J.J. Redick, Jamal Crawford, Hito Turkoglu was on that one of those teams.
Who was the backup big on that team?
Chris Kaman.
Oh,
The caveman. Remember that may have been pre-Chris Paul era.
Well, even if not, Chris Kaman is a legend.
Let me look it up.
All right.
What's your next pick?
So while you go now, going to my fifth and final pick, I'm going to go with the prime James Harden Rockets as my last pick. I think him offensively was MVP. Harden was ridiculous. They also almost beat, and I know this is on the tail end of his prime in air quotes, but that 2017 year when they were up
MVP season.
They were up 3-1, wasn't it? They were up
They weren't up 3-1.
3-2?
It went, I think, 3-2, and then Chris Paul got hurt.
Yes.
It went to Game 7. Chris Paul played, but that was when they missed 27 straight threes in Game 7.
And I remember because that as a Cavs fan, I hated those Warriors teams, so I thought the Rockets were going to be able to take them down. And I
thought maybe LeBron could steal one more ring.
And what was even crazier about that was Chris Paul goes down. They make Chris Paul play that last game, but he didn't really play or touch the ball. They kind of used him as a decoy the entire game, which was even more interesting. But James Harden was making shots that I've never seen before, getting doubled, making 4-point plays, ridiculous stuff. So for my last pick, I'm going to go with the prime Harden 2017 Rockets.
My last pick is going to be going back to the Jordan era. We'll round it out here. Keep it short and sweet. The 1996 Sonics. Mm-hmm. They went 64-18. Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf. I mean, they were just a great team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not much more to say.
So now I think heading into our last segment,
which I think would be maybe a reoccurring topic.
Yeah, which will be a reoccurring topic is going to be our something good, something bad portion. So Max, do you want to go first? You want to do good or bad?
I'll do good first.
Okay.
Good. Well, it's kind of a two-headed snake here. Played some golf today.
Yes, we did.
Didn't shoot great.
Yes. But
we at least got out on the links, beat the rain. And that kind of transitions to U.S. Opens this week. Should be fun to watch. And I think, as crappy as the Live PGA merger is in some ways, I think golf fans should at least be happy that there's some storylines and there's stuff to talk about and there's news and it's not the boring sport that it can be sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to watch the U.S. Open. Mm-hmm. Excited to see what some of the players have to say. I know John Rahm was talking earlier. He was really pissed. Obviously, Rory's always... he's firing off his takes on Live, but
yeah,
I think it'll be interesting. It's also interesting. Brooks and Rory are in a group together for the first 2 days, and Brooks is probably the most notable guy who's playing for Live right now, and Rory's the figurehead for PGA as far as the players go.
And it's the merger now too. Yeah,
so that'll be an interesting group, and I'm interested to see how that goes.
Very, very interesting.
But
so
something good for you.
Something good for me. I would just say, obviously, how baseball's been going right now, too. I really found it to be one of the more interesting parts of my day, and I've just enjoyed it a lot, paying attention to it. But I would just say also just family and friends with how things are going right now. This kind of leads into my bad, too, but I'd just say I'm just kind of in a slump recently. A hitter slump, getting the yips as of right now, but, we're, in the batting cages working on it, trying to get back out of this slump right now, and it's been a lot better with how friends and family have been too. So now going on to your bad.
Something bad for me, maybe a little more general, but we're about to enter now that the NBA Finals concluded and NHL playoffs is about to end too. Obviously, there's some golf going on, but we're about to enter the worst annual period for sports in general.
The Great Depression.
Yeah. It's better just be baseball, maybe golf here and there if it's a tournament worth watching, but not much going to be on the airwaves coming up here pretty soon. So.
Yeah, and leaving off on our last sports thing and our last topic, the Vegas Golden Knights are currently winning 7-2 with 8 minutes left in the third period. So
yeah, there you go.
There is the NHL playoff. The Golden Knights are your 2023 NHL champion. So I think that's a good way to leave off our first episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening if you did. We're kind of going on this journey along with you guys as well. So
I thought it went pretty good for the first episode.
So I think I liked it a lot. So
figure it out along the way.
Yeah, figure it out along the way. So thanks for listening to the setup. We'll be back soon too with the next podcast.